Hi, I'm Mike Victor. I'm the President and CEO of Indiana Right to Life, and I want to welcome you to Indiana Right to Life's first virtual Christmas Gala. This is the first time we've done this, but we're blessed that you're here tonight, and I pray that this presentation will be inspiring, it'll be educational, and it'll be motivational to you as well. Indiana Right to Life has a huge mission, and we look at that mission under a threefold strategy. One, we must bring an end to Roe versus Wade. Two, we want to make sure Indiana is on the leading edge of helping moms and babies and providing the resources needed and support needed for women to choose life in the state of Indiana. And three, we must win the hearts and minds of the culture. We dream of a day when it's absolutely unthinkable in the state of Indiana to kill any unborn child. It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take you, it's going to take me, it's going to take thousands of our neighbors across the state. That's why tonight, I pray that as you're watching this full presentation, that you will just really seek what God is placing on your heart. What is He prompting you to do? What is He prompting you to give? And that you would just respond very generously tonight through your giving, through your volunteerism, through your prayers. That's really what this event is about this evening. Now, we have a very special offer that we're making tonight as a thank you gift for the donations that will come in as a result of this virtual gala. So to tell you a little bit more about that, we have the author of a very special children's book who's going to share that with you.
My name is Corinne Weibel-Friels, and I'm a professional children's author, one of my titles being the adoption picture book, So Many Special Families for Indiana Right to Life. And I'm thrilled to share that this will be given to those who choose to donate to the virtual gala tonight. Now, to share a little bit about the book, it discusses different types of adoption and introduces 3 children from those different adoption paths. We have infant domestic adoption, international adoption, and adoption through foster care. It also incorporates some faith-based elements that are meant to remind us that the foundation of a family is not biological relation, it is love. I wanted to share too that the inspiration for this book was nothing short of a calling from God to spread awareness of adoption as a meaningful and blessed alternative to abortion. There are so many children who are blessed through the adoption process, and not only those children, but those families, those men and women who long to be called mom and dad, who are blessed because women choose adoption over abortion. Now, I want to share that there's only a 2-letter difference between the words abortion and adoption. And I believe that as a community of people who love God and who cherish children, we can make this simple 2-letter change all around the globe.
Hi, I'm John Crane, State Senator here in Indiana, representing District 24, and it is such an honor to be part of the Indiana Right to Life Virtual Gala this year. I can tell you one of the things that I've really appreciated about what Indiana Right to Life is doing is not only fighting for the unborn, but recognizing the relationship between culture and how we treat life. I think back to the book that was written many years ago, Whatever Happened to the Human Race by Dr. Francis Schaeffer and Dr. Koop. And one of the things that they outlined there very early on in that book is the idea that cultures can be judged in many ways, but eventually every nation in every age is going to be judged by this test. How did it treat people? We recognize, and why we fight for the unborn is because how we treat people sets the stage for everything else in life. As I often tell people, we can't fight for the rights of any individual on any issue if we first do not acknowledge and fight for their right to life. We cannot fight for justice. We cannot fight for equality. We cannot fight for education and healthcare and all these things that we say are so critical to the human experience if people are first not given the right to life. And as we know, politics is downstream from culture. Politics happens to be the mission field in which I serve. And so that is why I am so grateful for the great work that Indiana Right to Life has done over the years in advancing the cause of life in our Indiana legislature. Not only on the front lines of the battles, but providing us key talking points, giving us the support that we need to continue to try to create the kind of laws and culture in Indiana that will keep Indiana as one of the most pro-life states in our entire nation. And I say all this because you might be sitting there thinking, yeah, but what can I do? Well, not everybody's going to be a senator. Not everybody's going to be leading an organization. Not everybody's going to be writing legislation or going to the marches. But everybody has a role that they can play. Obviously, prayer is first and foremost. We have to pray and lean into God and trust that He's going to provide the path forward. But also we need to act. And acting might be showing up at the State House when a key piece of legislation is coming before the Senate or the House. And obviously one of the most important things is to put our money where our mouth is. You might be somebody that has the financial means to make a large financial gift to Indiana Right to Life, or maybe you don't. Maybe you have less means, but you have something that you can give and something that you can provide to support this effort. I can tell you categorically, anything is helpful because everything matters. And I just want to say thank you to you for being a part of this. The fact that you're taking the time tonight to be a part of this tells me that you recognize the value of life. And I firmly believe that all of us working together can continue to elevate the life of all people across our state and across our nation. Thank you for being a part of this event.
1 in 8 babies born in the state of Indiana now start with Women's Care Center. Women's Care Center is the largest, most life-saving pregnancy resource center in the country, with 32 centers in 11 states. But it all started right here in Indiana. And with half of our centers located in Indiana, we are in the best position to make the greatest impact. And Indiana Right to Life is one of the main reasons for our success. In 2014, it was Mike Fichter and Indiana Right to Life who invited Women's Care Center to open a center on 86th and Georgetown in Indianapolis, right next door to the largest Planned Parenthood abortion clinic in our state. Thanks to your support, nearly 10,000 babies have already been saved at that center alone. And we've already had to expand. It was also Indiana Right to Life who spearheaded bringing the Real Alternatives program to Indiana. This program gave us important funding to serve even more women and save even more babies across the state, and open centers in underserved areas like Bloomington, Maryville, and Northeast Indiana. Since this program started, 43,834 babies have been born to our Indiana moms, many of whom wouldn't be here today, but for you. You truly do make this mission possible. Thank you, Indiana Right to Life, for your continued love, advocacy, and support of Women's Care Center, and your commitment to serving women and saving babies in the state of Indiana. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Christina Francis. I'm a board-certified OBGYN practicing in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I'm also chair of the board of the American Association of Pro-Life OBGYNs and a board member of Indiana Right to Life. One of the things that I've always appreciated about Indiana Right to Life is that they are on the leading edge of what's going on in the fight against abortion. Currently in this country, approximately 40% of abortions are accomplished via medications. However, the abortion industry is trying to increase this number exponentially. One of the tactics that they're using to do this is to circumvent physicians and allow women to obtain these very dangerous medications through the mail or online. If this is allowed to happen in our state, not only will we see the number of preborn children dying from abortions increase exponentially, but we will also see women being injured or even dying because of the side effects of these medications. Women deserve better than this. Abortion is not health care. In fact, that's why more than 85% of OBGYNs do not perform abortions. Indiana Right to Life is working very hard to educate the public about the dangers of medication abortions, as well as keep these kinds of laws out of our state. Please join with us as we fight to protect not only preborn children, but also the women of our state from the ravages of abortion. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Yvonne Dean, Certified Financial Planning Practitioner here in Indiana. I am also a grateful adoptee whose biological mother made the choice for a loving life for me instead of an agonizing death due to an abortion. It's through that love that I have volunteered to partner with Indiana Right to Life to create our planned giving strategy. If you have in your estate plan a plan to help the unborn, to bring a voice to those who really need it, please let us know. Watch for more information on this in 2021. And if you have questions now, please let us know. Reach out to us. We're happy to meet with you, with your advisor, with your estate planning attorneys, or maybe with your small groups at church to provide more information on how you can help us with this. Thank you.
My name is Courtney Turner Milbank from the Bopp Law Firm, and I'm General Counsel for Indiana Right to Life. I'm here for a few minutes to discuss the future of the pro-life movement in Indiana. First, it's important to know where we came from. Since Republicans took control of the House in the early 90s, Indiana has consistently been on the forefront of pro-life legislation. Some examples include requiring women to view an ultrasound or hear a fetal heartbeat before having an abortion, prohibiting partial birth abortions, requiring parental consent for minors, prohibiting abortions on the basis of sex or disability, and requiring that all aborted babies be humanely buried or cremated. These laws and others have led to significant reduction in abortions in Indiana. And they've also led to Indiana being consistently one of the most pro-life states in the nation. Second, while it's true that some of these laws have been struck down by courts, there's an incredible opportunity in this new landscape. There have been many new judges and justices appointed under the Trump administration, and I am so excited to see that some of these laws are being reviewed again by these new judges and justices. Third, I'm here to tell you that the movement is picking up speed. I am both a millennial and staunchly pro-life. And despite what the media will tell you, I'm not the only one. There are many, many individuals in the Gen Z and millennial generations that are also unapologetically pro-life. I'm so excited to come alongside you and other Hoosiers that believe that life is worth fighting for. This is an excellent time to be a part of this movement, and I cannot wait to see what these new judges and justices do with the laws that are already on the books and the laws that'll soon be passed.
Hello, Indiana Right to Life. It's an honor to be able to be with you today. It's an honor to be able to partner with what you're doing. Hello, friends of Indiana Right to Life. I am just so excited about everything that is happening in your area for the cause of life. I know personally what that means for a woman like me, for a woman like my birth mother, for hundreds of thousands of women, children, and families across the country who are benefiting from people like you who are doing something about something that truly matters. I feel so privileged to be able to be a part of this. I look back on my life and I think, gosh, God created my life in such a miraculous way. And I used to think and look at the person who had been affected by abortion, and I used to think, that will never be me. That will never be someone in my family, in my neighborhood, in my community, in my church. And I found out that those things were so wrong that I used to believe about the person who had been affected by abortion. Because when I met my birth mother and found out my miraculous story, I found out that that person was someone like me, and was someone like my birth mother, was someone like my daughter who wouldn't be here if that abortion had successfully taken my life as it was meant to. And so I'm excited about all of the incredible things that Indiana Right to Life is doing in your area. I'm excited for all of you that are participating in this event to be able to get on board with an organization that is truly doing something about it, truly making a difference, truly saving lives of people like me, and truly empowering women like my birth mother in their moment of desperation, telling them that they're worth it, that they can do it, that there's something better for them than what's behind the doors of that abortion clinic. My birth mother told me when I met her that if there had been someone like you, someone with an organization like Indiana Right to Life who reached out to her, who educated her, who stood up for her, who stood in the gap for her, that she would have never chosen abortion. Growing up, I knew I was adopted. I knew what a gift that was, but I had never taken the time to think my life could be a gift. I knew what God said about life. I knew that I was chosen, wanted, and loved in my family. My parents told my sister and I, were both adopted. They told us that our entire life. But I never could have imagined that I would meet my birth mother and find out that I survived something that was meant to take my life. I met my birth mother, 11 years ago now, and with tears in her eyes, she told me about her abortion experience. She told me that as a 13-year-old little girl, that she went to an abortion facility with her mother, being told by her mother and the people inside of the abortion clinic that her life would go back to normal, that this would solve her problem, that at 5 months along, that her baby wasn't a baby, and if it was, that the greater inconvenience was that she was 13 and that she wasn't ready to be a mother, and they could solve that problem for her. And they told her the same thing that every single woman, little girl like her walking into an abortion clinic, what they hear today still. And my birth mother went home after her D&E dismemberment late-term abortion and thought, okay, my life's going to go back to normal, but it didn't. A few weeks went by and she thought she was getting back to normal, but she just still didn't seem right, didn't feel right. Things still seemed to be progressing. And so she asked her mother to take her back to that abortion facility. And they told her that day that her abortion had been successful on one baby, but that she had been pregnant with twins, and oops, they had missed one of the babies. And so I found out that day as I was sitting in front of my birth mother and witnessing her horrific tears that are still indescribable to me today, and watching as her body language changed after I thanked her for choosing life for me, and she started to tell me this story. I sat face to face with the reality of what abortion was doing in our country, and with the reality that I had survived my birth mother's abortion that successfully tore my twin's body apart limb by limb during a standard abortion procedure that is still performed today. And I realized in that moment that there was a name and a face and a story with that unborn child, like myself, like my twin. But not only that there was a face and a name and a story with that woman who desperately wanted a way out, desperately wanted someone to stand up for her, to tell her that she could do it. And so I realized that there was no turning back for me in that moment, because the lie that I had believed, that I would never be someone that had been impacted by abortion, that took my breath away in that moment, realizing that abortion had done this to my twin, had done this to me, had done this to my birth mother, and that I could be a part of humanizing that unborn child, of humanizing that woman who deeply regrets her abortion for decades, like my birth mother. And so I chose not only to forgive my birth mother in that moment as I sat there and witnessed her tears and heard her story and cared. In fact, I didn't even grasp that I had been a twin, that I had survived an abortion until later, because the loudest thing in that room that day was the look in her eye and the tears streaming down her face. And I knew that I had to do something. Maybe you're like me and you think, Claire, I care, but I don't know what I can do. I don't have a story like yours. And I'm here to tell you that that's okay. You don't need a story like mine to be a part of creating a culture that values life, to be a part of making abortion unthinkable, to be a part of telling women, like Indiana Right to Life does every single day, of telling women that they can do it, that they are strong enough, that they are capable, and that there are people like the people at Indiana Right to Life, like all of you supporting Indiana Right to Life, that want to walk alongside them, that are saying, here, I'm here with open arms, and I want to journey this with you, whatever that looks like. And so I get excited when I get to be a part of days like this, of events like this, partnering with organizations like Indiana Right to Life, because you're doing exactly what would have changed my birth mother's life forever, and exactly what it would have kept my family from experiencing the pain and the aftermath that abortion has caused so many. And so I want to encourage you to step out of your comfort zone, to ask God how He would use you through your voice, through your unique gifts and talents, through the very place where God has placed you in your family, in your community, to be a voice of reason, to be a voice of truth, and to speak those things in love to your community, to expose the reality of what our country is experiencing in the name of choice, and to partner with organizations, to partner with Indiana Right to Life, because your contribution, your willingness to partner with this ministry, it is going to create a ripple effect. My daughter, as I mentioned, the day that she was born, I thought, like every other parent, I thought, this is the greatest moment ever. And then it hit me. As I was holding my little girl for the first time, I realized, no, this is even better, because her life is a miracle. Because if that abortion had taken my life, my little girl wouldn't be here. And to think that one day she will grow up and she will become a mother and a grandmother, and there will be this generational effect. My daughter, fortunately, by the grace of God, is here because I survived. But the domino effect, the generational effect to abortion is huge. We will never know what we're missing at the hand of abortion, but I have to think that it's great. What we are missing is great. And one day, Christ will come back and He will make all things new, and He will make all things right, and we will be reunited. Those of us who have experienced abortion, we will be reunited with those that we are missing. But I want to leave you with one thing. Until that day comes, until Christ comes back and makes all things new and makes all things right, let us do everything in our power to expose the reality of abortion, to save women like my birth mother from the pain that they have experienced at the hand of abortion. Let us be bold in our stance for things that matter. Let us speak truth in love. Let us get 100% on board with the work that Indiana Right to Life is doing right there in your communities, in your state, because it truly matters. And it's saving the lives of people just like me and people just like you. So thank you so much for having me. God bless you all. I would love to connect with you if you have any questions, if you've had an abortion in your past. There is so much hope, and there is forgiveness, and there is love and grace for you. God wants to begin a healing inside of you. And my birth mother has experienced that. I will never forget that the day that she looked at me after she had begun this healing journey, after she shared her story for the first time and really opened up, and she said, Claire, for the first time, I'm free. And that is what I want for every single one of you, every single person that has experienced abortion. So reach out, partner with Indiana Right to Life, get excited about what is happening in your community to empower women, to embrace a culture that truly values life. And it starts today. It starts today with your partnership with this incredible organization. Thank you so much. God bless.
Aloha, Indiana Right to Life. It is a privilege to join you this evening, and I wish I could be with you in person because, of course, these events are really great for our morale, but also because I know that they would be giving us a wonderful dessert. But here we are, and in many ways, coming together this way has more profound meaning. I was thinking about how should I dress for this event? Should I wear a suit and a tie to show respect, stand at a podium? What should I do? Should I sit in the backyard in front of my bougainville flowers with my kids around me? I wanted to do something special, but I reflected on what we learned, I'm sure you learned too in college, that the medium is the message, or the medium carries its own message. And I thought, what is the message that this medium is carrying? And I thought, well, there are two powerful messages that are coming through this type of medium for this event. The first message is fortitude. It's a relentless commitment to standing with the vulnerable women of Indiana and the vulnerable child in the womb. It is a fortitude that we will not let obstacles get in our way. We're going to get this done because we know right now the vulnerable in our communities have never been more vulnerable, and they need us standing for life. So I think the first message is fortitude. And what is the second message? I think it's intimacy. I joke when I go to events. I travel the world. I've been to all 50 states making movies and for the pro-life movement. And when I travel, wherever I go in the country or even around the world, the folks that I meet are like family to me because what we share in common is a radical commitment to the pro-life movement. And we're a family. And so I thought I wanted to talk to you from my office. This is where I write, right here. It's where I do my podcast. It's where I work on my articles, my books, and even my scripts, right here. This is it. And I'm talking to you in your home. Maybe you're in your office, or maybe you're sitting on your couch with your family. So we're families that we've come together to defend the most vulnerable families in Indiana. So that is a great privilege. And before I begin, I really want to talk to you about my new movie, not because I want you to order it, although that'd be great, but I think it hits at the heart of the message of the pro-life movement for today. There have been 3 brutal denials of our founding principle. We're the first country in the history of the world that was founded on a vision of the human person. There is no other country in the history of the world that is founded on a vision of the human person. And what is that vision? Well, it's in the Declaration of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. Right? And where does that come from? Well, that is the vision of the human person that is found in the Jewish scriptures. Right? That man is made in the image and likeness of God. That is the source of our equality and dignity, our equal dignity. And that was further understood in the Christian scriptures, that the second person of the Trinity, that God became man. And so the founding fathers, after 1,700 years of Christian civilization, to them it was self-evident that the human person had this special dignity. And we're founded on that. We're not founded on a shared religion, shared denominations, shared ethnicities, shared historical experiences, right? Because all the ethnicities, all the religions have poured into our nation. But what has kept us united is this belief in the inviolable dignity of the human person. So then why are we divided today? Why have we had moments of great division in this country? Well, if we're united by a shared vision of the human person, what is the source of our division? That is brutally denying that vision. So if we don't accept the vision of the human person having inalienable rights, then the source of our unity is gone. And that will lead only to anarchy and chaos or tyranny. And it will be tyranny, right? So last 2 years ago, together with my production team, we sat down and said, we want to keep our country united. We want to make a movie that will unite our nation. Well, how would we do that? We want to come out in the fall of 2020 in theaters all over the country. Well, that didn't work, right? But we did come out. We said, well, the only way to keep us united is to address head on what's dividing us. And we believe today the source of our division is the issue of abortion. Because abortion, since Roe v. Wade, the law of the land has denied our founding principle. And now this is nothing new, right? We've had this before. Segregation was a brutal denial of the founding principle, and slavery was a brutal denial of the founding principle. The weed of slavery was growing from prehistory, right? Long before our republic was founded. And so when that wheat was planted, the Declaration of Independence, it was surrounded by the weed of slavery. But even the founding fathers then, like George Mason and John Adams, knew that our republic could not coexist with slavery. And the birth of the abolitionist movement goes back prior to the founding of this republic in the colonies. And so for almost the first 100 years of our great nation's history, we had the weed of slavery flourishing, and this led to a civil war. Then following the 13th and 14th Amendment, we had 100 years of segregation, 100 years of the law denying our equal dignity. And that created great division. Well, then in 1965, we have the Civil Rights Act. And then less than a decade later, we have Roe v. Wade. And Roe v. Wade, what is startling about Roe v. Wade, and a lot of people don't know or aren't aware of, that Roe v. Wade finds the right to abortion in the 14th Amendment. Can you believe that? Roe v. Wade finds the right to abortion in the 14th Amendment, the amendment to the Constitution that made former slaves citizens. When one reflects on the roots of the abortion industry in this country, the ideology of the founder of Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger, the racism and the radical eugenics, it is really startling to think that the third denial of our founding principle is founded in an amendment to the Constitution that was trying to eradicate the first denial of the founding principle. And in many ways, slavery, segregation, and abortion are just three heads of the same monster, right? Three vicious ideologies, but really one ideology. It's like a swamp with various types of poisonous plants, but they're all grow out of the swamp of some humanism. And so what is the work of Indiana Right to Life? It's to tell the truth about the human person. If our country was founded on an anthropology, then we are really, I tell people, I'm not a pro-life activist, I'm not a filmmaker, I'm an anthropologist. My goal in life is to tell the truth about the human person. That's it. When I make a movie, I hope when people leave the theater that they have a greater understanding about who they are, of their incomparable dignity, beauty, and worth. We want everyone to see the human person the way we do. And that's what the pro-life movement does. It tells the world the truth about the human person. You know, C.S. Lewis said, when we see each other, God must put a veil between our eyes. Because if we were to see each other as we really are, we would fall, we couldn't walk down the street. You'd walk down the street, you'd see your neighbor walking his dog, and you would drop to your knees in awe, not at the dog, of course, of your neighbor. But God has given us some sort of veil, right? Because we are made in the image and likeness of God. And when you think about that, it's really unbelievable. So when you go to the shopping mall or walk through an airport, there are just thousands of creatures all around you that are made in the image and likeness of God. You could get on a rocket ship and go in Elon Musk's rocket ship and go in any direction for all eternity, and you would never see anyone more beautiful than your next door neighbor who leaves his trash can out 4 days after pickup. That guy. There's no creature in the cosmos more beautiful than him. And that is really the message of our movement, of our movement. And that's why we made the movie Divided Hearts of America. We wanted to tell the truth that you tell every day. Now, this is the anniversary of my first movie, Bella. It's the 13th anniversary. It was in theaters 13 years ago today. You know, when that movie came out, our goal was to know the name of one baby who was saved from abortion within 10 years of our release. Well, now it's been 13 years. We stopped counting at 1,000 babies. But I just talked to Eduardo Verastegui, and he said that his staff's been keeping a count still, and it's upwards of 7,000. So I can't verify that myself. Movie to Movement stopped counting when we got over 1,000 letters. And that is a great gift. And a lot of folks think that my involvement in the pro-life movement began with the movie Bella. And I wish I could say that were true. I'd already been in the pro-life movement 13 years when Bella came out. And by the way, most of that time as an atheist. My journey in the pro-life movement began, long before Bella. And my journey began the way it begins for so many people, and it may have begun the same for you. I was not raised with any religion. I was raised actually hostile to religion, especially Christianity, and never went to church a day in my life. We also didn't talk about politics. My mother had me at 16, when she was 16. And so, we weren't a politically active family. We weren't a church-going family. We didn't talk about politics. We didn't talk about religion unless it was to mock Christians. So I wasn't growing up going to praying in front of abortion clinics. My journey began in the fall of 1988, the middle of my football season of my senior year. It was a Saturday morning, and I was half asleep, lying in bed, like teenage boys do, debating whether or not I should go downstairs and make a bowl of Lucky Charms cereal or just continue to lay there half asleep. I heard somebody coming up the stairs, and I thought it was my little sister, and the door opened, and someone sat on my bed, and I opened my eyes, and it was my high school girlfriend. She just rode her bike several miles from her house. She rode her bicycle several miles from her house to my house. And she sat on my bed, she looked me in the eyes, and she said, "I'm pregnant." So as you can imagine, I woke right up. And so the two of us sat there in my room that day. You got to picture the room. I didn't have an Ulu or a movie poster on the wall. I had Mike Singletary and Walter Payton. I'm from Chicago. So I had Richard Dent, Mike Singletary, Walter Payton on my walls, my shoulder pads on the floor, and it was a boy's room. But here I am, and I have a man's reality. And so we spent that day trying to figure out a plan and really talking about what the future would look like for us now. And so we decided that I would join the Army on my birthday, which was just, I think it was 3 days away. And I knew that you could join the Army at 17 because I had a buddy that just joined through this program. And so I said to my high school girlfriend, "I'll join the Army on my birthday." I'll never forget. And Katie said, "We should tell our parents when you get back from basic training, I'll wear baggy sweaters and take vitamins until you get back." And that was our plan. I think I should begin to say, because it might sound confusing or strange, but my mother had me at 16. My parents were married, I think, but were divorced before I was 1, I believe. I know they lived together for a while. And my mom got married and divorced a couple times. So my oldest my oldest memories was of me daydreaming about being a father, about having a peaceful home, having a loving home. This was my daydream. And so here I was, as a 16-year-old boy, not scared, although I had fantasized about going to college and for football in the NFL since I was in 3rd grade. I carried a football with me everywhere I went. But this, to me, that was just a means to an end. It was a means to being a father who could provide for a family. And so here I was at 16, before my 17th birthday, and I thought, I just jackpot, I just won the lottery. And you hear folks say, the kids from broken homes who find themselves in crisis pregnancies, they are they get pregnant because they're not loved. They get pregnant because they want someone to love them. And I can tell you that that's not true. What I believe it is, what I know it was for me, is that I wanted to love a child the right way. And I think that's what it is for these young kids. They know how a child should be loved in their heart, this natural sense of justice. And so they long to show the world how to love a child the right way. Well, of course, we know that without the formation and the habits, it's going to be impossible to live up to that noble aspiration, and the cycle repeats itself. But for me, that day, I can tell you, my aspiration was to be the best father in the world that I had been dreaming about, to being a strong father, a protective father. And so on my birthday, and Katie came from a family where she also was suffering all kinds of abuse. So she had that same dream. So on my birthday, I went down to the recruiting office. I was wearing my Letterman's jacket. I was clean cut. And the recruiter looked at me and he said, I'm sorry, young man, I don't think this program is for you. And we're not going to be able to let you in the military, Army. And I remember I was like, no, you have to. And he said, you look like you have your act together. He goes, this is a program for troubled youth, like delinquents. And I shared with him, out of 565 students in my class, I was dead last in my class. People flatter me and they say, you're making that up. No, I'm not. I was last in my class. And he perked up, because they have a quota. And then I shared with them, I had 80 hours of detention last semester. And then I told him some other stories that were even more embarrassing that I won't share with you. And he lit up and he smiled. He said, you qualify. Here's a piece of paper. If your principal signs this and your mother signs this, we will get you in the next basic training class. I'll never forget, he said, we don't think you're going to pass the Illinois GED. You're probably not that bright. You're last in your class. We'll have you take the Georgia GED. You got to pass that before you can get in. So I went to my principal and she looked at the form. She said, if I sign this, I'll never see you again. I was like, never. Have a nice life. It's going to be hard. And then my mother, she signed it. To this day, she says she thought I was just looking for attention, which was a rational assumption. She couldn't imagine that I would ever walk away from football and join the Army, but so she signed it. Well, just a couple weeks later, after getting the paperwork signed, it's time for me to go to the reception center and go off to Fort Benning, Georgia. So the drill sergeant on a Saturday morning calls me about 2 hours before he's picking me up. It's a 7 a.m. on a Saturday. He's like, okay, Jones, I'm going to pick you up at 9 a.m., take you to O'Hare. But make sure you have a suitcase with a toothpaste, toothbrush, socks, underwear, and a razor. And I ran all over the house looking for a suitcase. We didn't own a suitcase. Again, I remember fearing that my whole plan would be foiled. As irrational as it sounds. I'm like, they're not going to let me in the Army because I don't own a suitcase. We didn't have a suitcase. So I called the recruiter. I said, sir, I don't have a suitcase. What am I going to do? He said, use your pillowcase. So I went to my room and my pillowcase was Scooby-Doo. So I went to my sister's room. I looked in. Their pillowcase was strawberry shortcake. I went with Scooby-Doo. I put my socks in my toothpaste, toothbrush, underwear. And I have to confess, I put in a razor blade, but I didn't really even shave yet. So I had a razor blade I didn't need, threw it into my Scooby-Doo pillowcase, and off I went to Fort Benning, Georgia. Now when we got to basic training, I had to take the Georgia GED. Ta-da, I passed. Round of applause, please. I passed the Georgia GED, got into basic training, and after the first couple of weeks of basic, I had my first major dilemma. It was a Sunday morning, and the drill sergeants called for 2 formations. They said, we need a Catholic if you're a Catholic in this formation, if you're Protestant in this formation. And I watched as the men went to different formations. And I really had no clue what I was, because I had never been to church in my life. So I looked at both of the formations, and I thought, I have blonde hair, I have blue eyes. I guess I'm Protestant. So I got in line with the Protestants. Was it maybe a good guess? I could be Lutheran or something. And after the first day, after the first day of church. 1 hour sitting still is not my strong suit. And I remember looking up at the stained glass. I like the stained glass. These weren't of saints, though. These were of heroes like Sergeant York and General Washington. And so I was looking up at all the stained glass of these great American heroes in this church. And I thought, I'm never coming to church again. So the next Sunday, when they called for formation, I went up to the drill sergeants. I had a plan. And I said, I don't believe in God. And so you can't make me go to church. I'm just going to stay back here. So I had a vision of me in empty barracks, alone on the bunk, sleeping. The drill sergeants had a different vision. And that vision included me cleaning pots and pans all day, every Sunday, for all of basic training at AIT. So I became known as the Pots and Pans Boy. But that wasn't a bad thing, because I discovered that the KP station where I was ordered, there was a huge walk-in freezer. So I went in the freezer, looked around, what do we got here? And there were boxes of ice cream bars hidden away, stashed away. So I took buckets of ice, put the ice cream bars in there every Sunday, and I would smuggle them into the barracks, into my locker, lock it. Then when the soldiers came back from church, I would hold up the ice cream bar and say, who's going to make my bed today? Ice cream bar. Who is going to shine my shoes tomorrow? Ice cream bar. Who's going to polish my brass? Ice cream bar. So one day of extra duty meant I didn't have to polish my shoes, make my bed, or polish my brass all week. So it was a good deal. And of course, my high school girlfriend was sending me lots of letters. And with each letter, I had to do push-ups, but I didn't mind. I'd read these letters, put them under my pillow. I'd lay there at night and daydream about the privilege that I now had of being a father. It was about 2 weeks before, I was in the infantry, so basic training and AIT were together. And we were really done with training. We did our last exercises, and now it was inoculations for different duty stations, and paperwork and cleaning our equipment and drilling for graduation. So we felt like we were already done. It was a Sunday. I was cleaning pots and pans, waiting for my opportunity to secure ice cream bars, when a soldier came running in. I'll never forget, he was an Irish traveler from Pennsylvania. This young man came running in. He had desk duty, so his job was to answer the phones at the front desk. But one of the pay phones on the wall rang, and he answered it. He came back, and he said, Jones, you need to come out here and get on the phone. Your girlfriend called, and she's crying. So I ran out, and I answered the phone, and Katie was crying like I have never heard anyone in my life cry. And the only way that I can explain it is that her soul was crying. And she kept saying over and over and over again, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, it wasn't me. And then her father said over the other line, we know your secret, and your secret's gone. I took Katie to get an abortion. As soon as he said the word abortion, a drill sergeant reached over my shoulder and hung up the phone. I punched him. Another drill sergeant grabbed me by my collar and pulled me into my captain's office. And I was just wailing. My captain looked at me, a big Army Ranger, and his eyes began to fill with tears just looking at me. And he said, Private Jones, tell me what happened. And when I explained to him, he looked confused and he said, why would I call the police, soldier? Don't you know that abortion is legal? And you know the sad truth is, I didn't. I was last in my class. I didn't know anything about politics. I didn't know anything about religion. I got a C in biology, though. I knew the biological beginning of the human person was fertilization. I understood development. I knew that my child in the third trimester was a baby. But I didn't know that in our country, we abandoned the most vulnerable members of our families to the ultimate violence. And I wish the whole world could see abortion the way that this uneducated, irreligious, high school dropout from the south side of Chicago saw abortion. And the way that I still see abortion is an unthinkable, unspeakable, unimaginable evil. My captain gave me a roll of quarters and he said, I can't have you disturbing the whole battalion. I want you to call your girlfriend, but don't use these payphones. Go to the PX. And as I walked to the PX with this roll of quarters, I remember thinking, I can remember it like it was yesterday. I remember thinking, I spent my whole life daydreaming about being a strong, loving, protective father. And I couldn't even protect my child to birth. What a failure of a man I am. I got to the PX and I called Katie, and all I wanted to do was comfort her. It's quarter after quarter, she just cried. I'd say something here or say something there to try to stop her from crying. That's all I wanted. And her soul cried. And after $10 in quarters and an hour and a half, the mechanical voice said, "You have 60 seconds. Please deposit more change." And I had no more change. I can tell you, I remember like yesterday, scrambling, panicked, confused in my mind. Just say something so she will stop crying. And I blurted out, "Katie, I promise you, if it takes me the rest of my life, I'm going to end abortion for my child, my daughter." And the phone went dead. We know that her baby was a girl because the abortionist said to her after the forced third trimester abortion, he looked up and said, "By the way, you had a little girl." And so we named her Jessica. One of the best gifts anyone ever gave me was this rock that just sits on my desk. Jessica Jones, that's her name. So, I'm not good at keeping commitments. This January 1st, I said my New Year's resolution was I'm going to get down to 210 pounds. I was 220. I am now at 230. Okay, now we do have COVID, right? But this is normally how it goes for me. But I can promise you that, and I know it's only by God's grace, even though for half of my time in the pro-life movement, I was an atheist. But I know it's only by God's grace, but I can promise you, the first thing I think about when I wake up in the morning, when I lie in bed, is protecting children from the violence of abortion. And the last thing I think about as I'm drifting off into sleep every night is how I can be more useful in protecting women and their preborn children from the violence of abortion. And I thank God for that grace. I went on to try to keep the promise. I was director of Hawaii Right in college. I wrote a 40-year plan to end abortion. As a young soldier, I went door to door. After the Army, I went to college, started the Pro-Life Student Union, became director of Hawaii Right to Life, worked as chief of staff for state representatives, started doing radio shows. How I got into movies was I just wanted to reach as many people as possible with the truth of the human person. I wanted to reach as many people as I could, and been grateful now to be a part of over 50 films, produced over 10. And it's been I'm very grateful for that privilege. I do want to share with you, I want to close with a story about a film I'm still working on. I've been working on it for years. It's on the rise and fall of the ISIS caliphate. But it was in 2016, January 2016. And the Peshmerga were pushing ISIS completely out of the Nineveh Plains. The Nineveh Plains of Iraq are really the Christian homeland. There have been Christians there since the 1st century. In fact, you can see churches built by St. Thomas at his time. There's a monastery that's been there since St. Matthias, that's been there since 306. And they have the oldest extant copy of the New Testament. In fact, the complete copy of the New Testament, as we know the New Testament today, that had been there for 70 years before the Council of Rome even formalized which books we believe are in the New Testament. And so it's our homeland. It's the Christian homeland. Well, I was with the Peshmerga, and the Peshmerga are Kurdish warriors. And they don't look like Navy SEALs, though, or Marine recruiting posters. They look like just men, farmers and mechanics, just men who are fighting. They're fighting to preserve their homeland from the vicious ideologues of ISIS. And so as I was traveling with the Peshmerga, these Kurdish Muslim warriors, documenting their battles, there were men who were Yazidi. And the Yazidi, I am told, are really the Proto-Semitic people. They're who the Jews, Kurds, and Arabs all descend from. Abraham himself, when he said to his family, I'm out of here, the people he was waving at today, their descendants are the Yazidi. So, but because of the Yazidis' religion, they have really no protections in the Quran, the way that Christians and Jews do. So ISIS was utterly brutal to the Yazidi. You may have seen these women in chains, in hijabs, shackled and taken off to camps. Those were the Yazidi women. So these fathers, brothers, and husbands would follow behind the Peshmerga, hoping that they would find their daughters. So as I'm there with my camera crews, filming all of this, and these were local camera crews, so it was quite a struggle. I was really focused on my job. But then all of a sudden, out of the corner of my eye, I saw something I realized was absolutely unbelievable. I couldn't even believe it as I was witnessing it. I saw the Peshmerga bringing a young girl back. She looked like 6, but I was told she was 9. She'd been held for ISIS for 9 months. As they were bringing her back, I saw one of the men realize that was his daughter. And I stopped everything I was doing, and I just watched. I watched this man embrace his daughter. I watched the joy and relief that this little girl had. But then I turned my eyes away from them, and I let them have their moment. And I just looked at the Peshmerga, these men, with their broken down trucks and their old AK-47s. And I looked at them. And I said, Lord, thank you for the privilege to look at these men. Just to look at them. Thank you for the privilege to breathe the same air that they're breathing. Thank you for the privilege to just witness this. Because the only thing standing between this father, his daughter, and a vicious ideology that would destroy them are these men. And so I am overwhelmed with the honor to talk to you. I wish that I could look at you. I wish I could see you sitting there at the table holding your wife's hand, getting there, writing your check to support Indiana Right to Life, drinking your coffee, eating your chicken. I wish I could just look at you because I feel the same way about you. Truly, the only people in Indiana that stand between these vulnerable women and their children and a violent ideology that would destroy them is you. It's the same ideology that destroyed my child in the womb, that broke the heart of my high school girlfriend, that destroyed her fertility so she could never have children. I have 7 children. I feel guilty every time I post my family on social media because she's my friend and I know she sees it. And it breaks my heart. But I know that there you are, in your towns, in your neighborhoods, in your churches. There you are, protecting women from having to go through what my high school girlfriend went through. And making sure that little girls like my little girl, Jessica Jones, have the beautiful gift of life. I can't thank you enough. I know now that I will never keep the promise that I made to my high school girlfriend alone. But what I do know is that just those of us here on this Zoom call, I guess this is, if just those of us here watching this, listening to this, if we conform our life to God's will, we will end abortion in our lifetime. And protecting women and children from the violence of abortion is the most important work of our age. But you know, in doing so, we will save our republic. Because as we look around, we see our republic in collapse. Because it's what it has rested on is being destroyed, being denied. And so here we are, we've come together in this challenging time in this unique event. It's not what we wanted. It's uncomfortable for me to give this talk. It's strange because as you're looking at my face right now, I'm looking at my face thinking I wish I were so much more handsome so I could be a better pro-life speaker. But the work that we're doing to tell the truth about the human person, to proclaim that we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that every human person has an inalienable right, and the source of that is the truth of who they are, creatures made in the image and likeness of God. Together we will save our republic. Together we will end abortion. Thank you, Indiana Right to Life. Now, go eat some pie, all right? Aloha.
Thank you, Jason, for such an inspiring and challenging presentation. And thank you, Claire, for your willingness to share your powerful story tonight. We've been privileged tonight to hear from leaders from all across our state that are standing in the gap for unborn babies and their moms. But it's never been about a handful of leaders who do it all. People ask me all the time, what makes Indiana such a pro-life state? And the answer, it's really simple. It's folks like you. Whether you're watching tonight from Gary, Terre Haute, Evansville, New Albany, Indianapolis, Richmond, wherever you're at in the state of Indiana, it's because of you who are willing to speak for those who have no voice that Indiana is such a strong pro-life state. Tonight I'm asking you, as a result of your commitment to the unborn, to make a special financial gift to Indiana Right to Life. We have enormous opportunities directly ahead, but I can tell you we have enormous challenges that are directly ahead as well. The abortion industry in Indiana is hoping that we all turn a blind eye and that we just go on with life as usual and that we'll do nothing as a result of this presentation tonight. I'm asking you to help. I'm asking you to help us dismantle Roe versus Wade so that we can finally end abortion on demand in Indiana. And I'm asking you to help us make Indiana the top state in the nation for providing resources to help women choose life for their babies. And I'm asking you to help us to win hearts and minds in communities all across the Indiana because that's how we're going to win this entire debate. It's no secret that 2020 has been one of the deeply troubling, wildest, confusing years that most of us can ever recall in our nation, in our state, in our local communities. More than ever before, because of the turmoil that's happening, we need to reinforce the truth that every human life is valuable because every human life is created in the image of God. That's the core message of what we want to bring across to all of Indiana and hopefully to the entire nation. Tonight on your screen, you have various opportunities on how you can make a financial contribution to Indiana Right to Life. And with just a few clicks, you can make that happen. I pray that you will be generous, that you'll follow the prompting that God has placed on your heart. If you can make a gift of $10,000 tonight, or maybe $5,000 or $2,500, is that something you can do? Maybe it's $250 or $100 or $50. Maybe it's a $10 monthly donation. I don't know what it is. You may be someone who you're in a very difficult time right now. Maybe there's been a transition in work. Maybe there are family issues, medical bills. If that's the case, we understand that. And what I would ask you to do is pray for us. If you're unable to support us financially, would you respond tonight to the virtual gala and let us know that you'll be praying for Indiana Right to Life's efforts in the state of Indiana? That would be such a tremendous blessing to do that. Everyone can contribute. Regardless of what level, or regardless of what you can do, everyone can contribute. Everybody plays a role. Everybody serves on this team. So thank you for joining us tonight. I hope that you have been blessed by what you've heard, by what you've seen during the gala tonight. And to close us out in a time of prayer, I've asked Dr. Bill Cadup, who's the president of Grace College in Winona Lake and a member of the Indiana Right to Life Board of Directors, to lead us in just a time of reflection and a time of prayer and a time of thanking God for what he's doing in the state of Indiana.
Please join me in prayer. I say tonight what the psalmist said, that we praise you because I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful. I know that full well. I thank you tonight for the message from Jason Jones, how he's used his talents and skills to produce films such as Divided Hearts in America, where Benjamin Watson tells the clear story of his passion for life. Lord, we ask you to preserve life in our country and around the world. We pray that you would stop all abortions and stop the killing of life through the coronavirus pandemic. I thank you for Mike Fector and all the staff members of Indiana Right to Life. And I thank you for this beautiful evening of celebration and encouragement. The battle is not over, but we know you have the victory. We ask all this in the name of your Son, Christ Jesus. Amen.